and then Tom Llamas. Tom, your parents fled Cuba. I want to start with you. And, you know, we were talking this morning, this is very personal. Your parents fled, but there's also this almost danger of romanticizing the revolution and what Fidel Castro was.
Yeah, that's so true. You know, I can't remember a time when I didn't know the name Fidel Castro. I mean, I've known that name as long as since I've been alive, and it's something that has always been part of my life and my family's life. They fled Cuba, as you mentioned, as political exiles. And there is this tendency when world leaders die to kind of misplace this romanticism around some world leaders. But Fidel Castro is someone who was a tyrant. He was a killer. He was a liar. And I really never realized how fortunate I was to be born in this country until I did a story that took me to the Florida Straits, and I was embedded with the Coast Guard, and they were intercepting Cuban rafters and Cuban go-fast boats that were smuggling in Cuban citizens. And I got to see firsthand what it looked like on these boats, dozens of families, babies in diapers. And the best choice that these families had was to put their children on a boat in the middle of the night, not knowing what would have happened, than to live in Cuba. And Cuba at a distance may look beautiful, it may look mysterious, it may look nostalgic, but up close, it is cracked, it is faded, and the people are hungry, and that should be the legacy of Fidel Castro.
There are no question that there are horrors, ongoing horrors in Cuba right now, and of course for decades that you just referenced. But Ron, you know, you covered, you were in our Miami bureau for years at ABC News, you've been in Cuba. There are also arguments one can make on behalf of the Castro regime.
Well, the literacy rate in Cuba is one of the highest, I believe, in the world. The infant mortality rate, I believe, is as low or maybe lower than it is in this country. But as Tom was saying, you know, I've been there in the late 90s and more recently, earlier this year, and people live in fear there of even saying the name Castro out loud. They live in fear of their neighbors informing on them. They have these committees for the defense of the revolution where your neighbors can spy on one another. There have been economic gains in recent years. More people are making money. There's some free enterprise, but it's a very repressed place, and it's a very poor country. You get away from the tourist areas, it is grinding poverty there. The infrastructure is in terrible shape. It will take decades and decades for that to improve.
And on Ron's point, I mean, the literacy rate is amazing in Cuba, but you're told what to read. You can't read whatever you want, you know? They also talk about the world-class doctors in Cuba, yet the citizens receive third world health. And I can remember night after night with my family stuffing envelopes, greeting cards with medicines, Kool-Aid, just so they could have calories. And that's what I remember.
Yeah, it is incredibly powerful to hear your firsthand testimony. Tom Llamas, thank you very much. Ron Claiborne as well, thank you.